Yeah, we'll get going here. So, boxwood. Freedom. Again, this is in the 2 gallon new gen program. So, new gen, all about boxwood blight resistance. That's the big deal here. You can see here, these are real nice size 2 gallons. This was a late fall photo. Um, Plant's still looking really good. We do have some threes available, but we're getting down there, which is good. We have an excellent 3 gallon crop coming right behind it, so I don't think we'll have any hiccups on the threes. But we wanted to push the twos. The two, you can see from the size there, it's a really good value to get a brand new type of boxwood with all the things that are going on with it. It seems to be getting traction out there. So, just keep pushing it, especially if somebody asks you the question, what are you guys thinking about boxwood blight? What are you doing with boxwood blight? Boom, freedom. You want a plant that you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about that question. They need to start pushing freedom to their customers if it comes up that they have a major concern about boxwood blight. So. The other one in the series is Independence right now. So we do have twos and threes? So we have
Hey,
twos and
Dave.
threes still available. Yeah.
Before you move on from Freedom, it seems like when we were first seeing that plant, it had that more upright look that you're seeing right there in the 2 gallons, and then they started to get more globose. And I wondered if you could comment on that, but I really like it looking like more of an upright plant. I think it looks a little different from Independence, and
Yeah, it was a cutting trim thing. So we stripped the hell out of that crop for cuttings and then had to trim it back a little bit. So that's why it looked, but now they're starting to grow back up out of that. They'll have this shape going forward. I guess we call it here like an egg shape. I don't know if that's the right term you want to be using out there with your customers, but yeah, it's definitely more of an upright.
that's what you're
the
going
shape.
for.
Yeah, that's the
Cool.
shape we're going for. So what
you.
you see here is what we really like to show. I would have preferred having a few of those feathers off the top, but in no way am I trying to trim that thing flat. So that's where the independence comes in. So yeah, thanks for that comment that we did have to do that. But the 3 gallon crop is huge. I don't think anybody's going to have too much of a problem with it. The plant is huge and beefy. It's a real big plant. It's going to shoot right up. So, Independence. Go ahead and go to the next one. This is the other one in the series. This is the 3 gallon. We also have twos. We have good availability on this. We've been talking about freedom. That was the first one to hit. Now it's Independence. You can see here, Independence really has more of that kind of traditional shape like a velvet would have. I kind of look at it, it's kind of between a velvet and a green gem. It's kind of in between there. What's great about it, there's other things that's great about it. It has no margining in the leaf, where velvet can sometimes get that little bit of yellow margin on the leaf. This thing does not do that. It's totally resistant. You can see there, it's got a great shape. We did very little to this plant. We really didn't trim it a lot. I think it only got one trim, and where velvet might have gotten a couple. So it's very uniform in its habit. So that's a great thing too. A lot of good things. So this is really our first true crop that we're pushing through with good numbers on the Independence. So might take a little bit more to get it out there. That's why I wanted to bring it up again to keep letting you know what's great about these plants. So,
hey Dave, it's Mike. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Hardiness compared to the Freedom. I see that Independence, I think, is labeled 5B on the website.
Yeah.
How does it fare compared to the Freedom, hardiness wise?
We don't really know. Both of them, when they were trialed, put it this way, they've only been in northern trials for about 3 years. I wouldn't say in the last 3 years we've had any kind of brutal winter. So they've been fine the last 3 winters. Um, that's all I know. They put it down as a 5B because it came from a selection out of Virginia. And out of some caution, they decided to go with the 5B because it really wasn't up into your territories or in the upper Chicago market for that long. So that's why it has that 5B. But so far, we've not seen any issues. But good point. Some of your people up there, they may just want to bring them in on a trial basis. It's a new plant. They were not up north at all. So this is the first time really pushing this plant into the northern market. I know in the Connecticut, New England market, they've had it there for the same amount of time that we've had it. They haven't seen any issues over there either, coming out of Pride's Corner out there on the East Coast. So it looks good, but without having a real brutal winter to test it out, we'll stick with that B. All right. Let's go into Burning Bush. So here we got the 3 gallon. You can see there last year, I can't figure it out. You guys could tell me more, but the 3 gallon Burning Bush were the hottest things out there. I couldn't beg, borrow, or steal enough. We literally went into spring with a huge amount of availability. And then all of a sudden, when things shook loose, we sold right through those plants through May and June, which was great, but I could never quite figure out what was driving that. I don't know if we're going to see something similar where people come in later and buy more, or if that was just a COVID type of thing going on. But we do have 1,800 of them available. Great looking plant, great size. This thing breaks. When it breaks, and they grow fast. So shipping dormant, this is what you're going to have, but these things are going to break towards the end of April there sometime. And through April, through Mother's Day, this thing's going to put on an incredible amount of growth. So it's going to take this 18-inch and just blow it out of the water. So it could have been, we had a similar crop last year. It could have been just we landed bees at just the right time and everything worked, and the size and the fresh growth, and people just loved it, so they turned to it. And I don't see any reason why we won't repeat that same type of event. So you guys could tell me more about the market things going on out there, but this is the plant that we have. Feel very confident about it, and it will perform exactly the same as last year's crop did. So we got the same sizing going into spring. All right, hydrangea Firelight. So Firelight is fairly newer. I mean, it's been around for a couple of years here. You can see there that is how the plant is going to ship. So Cheryl did a quick trim on it to give you an idea of what it's going to ship. So we like to cut those, it has the spent flowers on the tips. So we go through, kind of trim it back, uniformity. You can see there we got excellent size on this thing. This thing has the same growth rate and habit as Limelight. So it makes an impact really fast, and that can be a good thing. We're trying to bring that on into our tree program. Trees are very limited, but we're pushing forward. So we're going to have a lot more of these by next fall in the tree program. It's just going to make a bigger, fuller head quicker, a lot more showier. You can see there from the flowers, I can tell you from the flowering we had this summer and fall, it does not disappoint. And what was really cool, we did a lot of experiments with it just because we're plant geeks on our own, and we cut several of them off, and they dry that way, which is one of the first hydrangeas I've ever seen that really keeps a dark red color when the bloom is dry. So you can cut it, you can dry it, and do whatever with it you want. I know people like doing it for flower arrangements, things like that. If people have cut flower farms where they cut them, that's starting to gain in popularity again. So there's some niche markets maybe for that. If I was doing that kind of thing, I would pick Firelight would be the first one on the list. because it blooms heavy. That photo on the right is not lying. I mean, that's how heavy that thing is going to bloom. So great plant. That's why we like it. It's not made for a small area. You know, it's just like a limelight. It's going to need some room. It's going to get on the larger side. You know, it's going to get 5x6 or 6x6. So it's not. I wouldn't consider it to be a foundation plant right next to the house, but that's the niches, and we got 1,000 of them available. We didn't have them last spring; we were sold out. This spring we got them. It's one of the few hydrangeas I think we have any availability on. So that's a good one to really push out there. Great plant. I think we just really raised our numbers quickly. That's probably why they're available. We raised everything else too, but this one we really raised hard because we started seeing some buzz. So, all right. Sky pencil. So this is a Granada. So to Mike's point, this might not be a Michigan plant. Granadas can be a little problematic when you go up north. But in our Ohio range here, down through, it should be fine. I know people are starting to just plant it up north. It's just gaining in popularity, and people are taking some chances with it, which is fine. But it has to be in a protected area. Its big problem is wind burn, not so much hitting a cold temperature threshold. I mean, that could happen, but it's really the exposure that it gets. If the root ball completely freezes and those winds hit it, it actually desiccates, because this plant, is basically in that evergreen type of family, and the leaves will literally dry up, they'll die, and without the leaves, that plant still wants to stay active all the time, so it has to keep those on. If it loses them or they get damaged too much, then the plant will collapse and die in the spring. So that would be the trick for going north. Just a little bit of protection from the wind, the right side of the house, or in a fenced yard or something like that. So, but great for hedging. Very little maintenance does it need. You can trim it as hard as you want on the top. It'll re-break, come back up. So it's got a very vigorous re-break. As long as you leave some leaves on it, you could literally trim that thing down to that 6-inch mark on that. If you ever wanted to, you could cut it with a chainsaw and bring it back up. So it's very tough in those regards. It responds very well to how homeowners might treat it. That's probably why it's become pretty popular, because as long as you can protect it a little bit from that wind burn in the winter, it's very easy to take care of. So, and we have 1,500 of those available. China Dynasty, that's China Boy, China Girl together. That's really the direction we want to go forward with all of our holly there. And this way you get the male and the female. You don't have to worry about pollination or anything. So Chinas have kind of a glossy leaf, usually a little bit lighter leaf. Definitely on the new growth, it's a lot lighter color. Has little spines on the end, but they're not particularly real sharp. So it looks more like that American type holly, but American holly gets real spiny. This is not. It's a lot softer growth. So you can see there the incredible size that we have on these. So they're pushing well past our specs. We have 800. Spirea double play doozy. Spireas are getting short out there, but we do have doozy available. This here was just an incredible amount of Spirea that we can. That's the only reason we have availability. I think last year on doozy we canned over 10,000, and our official plan was 4,000. So we just kept canning. We could get the liner. We stuck more cuttings. We did everything we could. And you can see here, we're down to 1,600. I feel pretty confident that you guys will move through these. So people who are calling up and saying they want, I want double play red, or I want double play pink, or Anthony Water, or Neon Flash, or any of those doozy is the way to go. This thing repeat blooms all throughout the year. You can see there, that's a fall photo and it's still blooming. The one on the photo on the right there. So that's more towards the fall and it's still putting on blooms. So it's a great repeat bloomer. It is widely adaptable. It can take all types of soils. It's a very tough plant. You know, when we brought this on, I just rolled my eyes and said, "Oh, great, another spirea." But this one, they weren't kidding. They really selected an excellent spirea. Bacterial spotting is non-existent with this thing. I don't know why anybody would want to plant Anthony Water or Neon Flash. I don't understand that. I guess they're on the cheap end. That's why they want to do it. But if you want to plant to be successful, clean foliage, all those kind of things, this is the way you need to go. Taxus densiformis, next one. This is, if you could scroll up just a little bit.
I'm sorry, Dave, what did you need?
Could you scroll up just a little bit?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
There we go. So, you know, this is a 7-gallon that we have. We got some good sizing on it. This here, we did can a little more than our plan. That's part of the reason. This is, gosh, is this the 22 crop?
Yes,
Yeah. So we're rolling forward. So we're bringing forward, which isn't a problem. The next crop behind it that we just shifted had really nice 3 gallons. So we were able to do that. Unfortunately, we're very limited, almost non-existent on Everlow. That's a tough one. Everybody's out of it. Liners are out. There's been some issues with Everlow, with not only Willoway, but other growers. We've seen some problems. So we can't quite figure out what that is. But we came up with a new plan this year for growing it. It's in the starting process. Once the plant's established, it's fine. It's in the first transplant sequence that we seem to be having some issues. So we're changing a little bit what we're doing to bring our Everlow numbers back up. We're chasing that hard, but we do have the availability on the densiformis. And I don't know where we are with Hickseye. We got Hickseye. Okay. So Densi's Hickseye, we do have the wart eye. So that gets you a little lower taxus. But unfortunately, that's where we are with the Everlow. But you can see here, this might be a plant, and it's understandable that we have availability. This is really, in these 7-gallon sizes, this is something that the wholesaler usually brings in a little later after their spring color is gone. That's where we really sell a lot of these. So the number doesn't concern me. We just wanted to show you that we have them. They're available. Get people to start thinking about them. Fuji whipcord. That one we've grown for several years. You can see there, every year we've been able to get this plant a little bit bigger when we go to ship it out. This is really what we want to ship out. You know, we want all this crazy growth hanging off the pot with interest. That's the size of plant that we want to push out. In the beginning, the ones we were shipping were very small, just to try to satisfy the demand. But we have 450 of these still available. Great plant to land at a garden center for some interest. It's a fairly tough plant. I'm a little cautious with this plant in really wet soils. It probably wouldn't do as well, but it's fairly adaptable for its soil type. It can handle clay soils as long as you got some drainage. There's no disease, no nothing. I don't know anything that would attack this thing. I really don't. Pretty tough plant, easy to take care of, gives a lot of interest. So there you go, Fuji whipcord. B&B, just showing a couple here. So we got Cornuscusa chinensis. You can see there the photo towards the left. Was what, sometime in September or something like that when we were, yeah, when we were ribboning, and then you can see today's photo of what the structure of the plant looks like. So we do have Cheryl listed the different sizes, pretty limited on 84 96s, but we still have some 60s and 72s available. Just remember a lot of this deciduous stuff, digging on this is wraps up by mid-April. So conifers, we can go a couple more weeks, but and that's the same with Jace trees. Not a lot of digging we can do after mid-April. So if people think that they want to bring some stuff in late, things like that, you really got to push them to pull the trigger on the deciduous a lot earlier. So and then on the flip side, we got Picea pendula. This is just an Abies type, but you can see here the size of the plant. It's got some skirting at the bottom. We will take that skirting and tie it up, and then the guys actually bend it sideways. So you tie those bunches up and kind of twist them around the tree. That keeps them from getting broken. I've seen a lot of people where they take them and they pull them straight up and then they try to ship them that way. It doesn't go very well. So we really take our time to make sure that when they take the twine off of it, the thing cascades down past the ball. So it really looks nice, like it's gonna fill in. So some great sizing on these. You can see there across the screen, she's got those labeled real good for you. You can't go wrong with any of them, but that 84-inch is just fantastic. I mean, it's huge. It's impactful. So to have some of those big ones as specimens, I think that's pretty important to get out there. Okay,